You get out of the game and you're like applying for Walmart. It's like, I spent 8 years as an assassin for the U.S. government. It taught me organizational skills.
The crazy thing is, though, about assassins is that once their career ends, the government tries to kill you. That's a real thing. People think I be joking. I wish.
Where is this information coming from?
I've met plenty of assassins in the 90s. Haven't you heard? Everybody was an assassin.
Everybody in my elementary school was an assassin.
All the elementary kids.
Well, I'll tell you what, boys. You know what really trips me out is, why do people love watching these shows and series and movies about serial killers? I've seen like my ex used to do it. My mom and my dad, they love watching. My sisters love watching it. Like, what's the big hype? Why do people like watching these shits? I don't really fucking get it. Like that new what is it? Dahmer? I'm fucking destroying the name probably. Right?
Yeah,
Dahmer. Thank you. Everybody's watching this shit right now. And I don't really get the idea of why the fuck. Like why
it's interesting. It's interesting to hear, like, there's other human beings out there that function, everybody's different, but there's people out there that function so differently that they'll do the most heinous things possible. And I don't know, it's interesting to get into the psychology of why they end up the way that they do. And then I think there's a morbid curiosity of all the terrible things they've done. Just,
I think those are like the two big reasons why people watch shit like that. I will say I've watched the first 2 episodes of that Dahmer show. It makes me very uncomfortable. That shit is not usually my jam though. So like I'm not the target audience for those kind of shows. But it's a very uncomfortable look into that whole situation in his life. I'm not a huge fan, which is weird because I read my friend Dahmer is a fantastic comic book. It's really well done. It's about it's written from this kid that knew Jeffrey Dahmer back in like high school. And it's talking about like his experience with him as like a teenager. And that's great. I really enjoyed that. The art's kind of not my favorite, but the story is good. But yeah, this show Dahmer, I just cannot get into it. It makes me very uncomfortable. It's just like the way that he's interacts with his victims and the level of detail they put into it in each scene. It's a lot, man. It is a lot to deal with.
Yeah, I also got through the first 2 episodes, and I was concerned that when you said that it made you uncomfortable, that it was like they were flirting with humanizing him too much or whatever. So I was kind of watching from that perspective of like, are they gonna, like, basically how are they gonna treat this character? And I think they did a good job of painting him to be, the terrible person that he was. And I mean, it seemed like they are getting into why he's the way that he is. Right, like his fucked up home life, and then his mom was doing drugs while he was in her womb, and
the hernia thing is weird. I had not heard that before, where they were saying that the hernia is like that was the changing point in Jeffrey Dahmer. His dad keeps bringing up. He's like, he hasn't been the same since that hernia operation.
Yeah, botched surgery, man. Back in the day, man. Who knows how how the impacts of like different medical practices or whatever. But I don't know. I think it's good so far. There is a big degree of discomfort where. Like how long he's just like with his victims, those scenes are intense. Like he's about to murder this guy, and like the conversations they're having, the vibe, all that stuff is very strange. And I mean, like, there's no way that they could truly know exactly how these interactions went down, because there's maybe Jeffrey Dahmer told them actually, so maybe they have some insights, and some survivors will probably tell them how it went down. But yeah, it was just very uncomfortable. Very strange.
The intimate nature, like how close, like the conversations he's having with his victims, it's a lot to deal with. And then you add in that whole like police incompetence thing that's just going on in the entire show. It is a stressful show for me. I don't I'm probably gonna finish it, but it is not my favorite thing that I've ever watched.
Yeah, because I didn't know. Like at first, I thought it was a movie. I didn't know it was a show. But yeah, like just in general, like I don't really like fucking like watching shit like that. It's just like, well, why do like I get it, like people are interested in these serial killers and stuff like that, but it's just like I don't know why anybody would want to watch the hype off that shit. It's almost like you're glorifying serial killers in a way by like making a show and a movie and all this shit about it, but maybe that's just how I'm looking at it.
I mean, there's some aspect of it that like that's a valid concern to have about the show. I mean, like you saw, I don't know if y'all saw on Twitter. I'm sure Doey saw on Twitter where people were posting like images of Evan Peters playing Jeffrey Dahmer. They're like, man, this man is so fine and blah, blah, blah. It's like he's playing a fucking serial killer in this show. Maybe that's not the thirst trap image of this actor to use.
I mean, it's consistent with at least what I've read and know about the Jeffrey Dahmer situation. One thing that was a little off-putting or just jarring to me is how awkward Jeffrey Dahmer is in the show. Mm-hmm. Whereas in my memory of what I know about him in real life is that he was like somewhat charismatic. He had a bunch of women that were in love with him while he was in prison already for the things that he was doing. There were women that thought that he was innocent and things like that, and they were like I vaguely remember him having some type of like male relationships.
You're not mixing him up with Ted Bundy, right?
Maybe I'm mixing up with Ted Bundy
because Ted Bundy is the one that they claim was super charismatic and the escape artist and all that shit.
Yeah, maybe I'm mixing him up with Ted Bundy.
Yeah, because I mean, the comic that says that Jeffrey Dahmer was a socially awkward outcast, like that's what My Friend Dahmer establishes at least.
Yeah, the way that this guy behaves, I'm like, it's a miracle that he landed any dates with anybody, that he's managed to get anybody back to his place. So if he could do it, I think anybody could do it. All you incels out there, if Jeffrey Dahmer's getting people to go back to his house, you could do it too, all right? Get out of your involuntary celibate ways, all right?
I think that's just a part of the gay world and lesbian, gay. They are more sexually interactive. They, right off the bat, it could go down the same night and they could just have a 20-minute conversation. You're feeling it. And I think they just, I think that's a part of like the gay lifestyle.
I think that is a stereotype that's been pushed on us about like gay people and lesbian people.
Gay people are fucking.
I know
Gay
that there
people
are
are
people
fucking way more than we are. Heterosexuals, gay people are fucking way more than
Doey
heterosexuals.
frequents all the gay people.
I'm just saying, I know enough gay people to know that this is actually.
I've got a gay brother that I've known for my entire life. I've been very involved with a lot of his friends and his social circles and whatnot. I think it's a stereotype that's mostly been pushed on us by Republicans to paint, non-heterosexual people as deviants.
It might be. It might be the case.
I think that's a paintbrush that and by all means, I'm not trying to say that your experience with is invalid or anything like that. But I do think with my experience meeting gay people, knowing gay people at the bar in a social setting, I just have experienced what I've seen.
I mean, there's hookup culture on both sides for sure, right?
Yeah. No, I'm not saying that there isn't. I'm saying that gay people are just more sexually active than your average Joe.
I will say what stuck out to me on the show is, man, if you wanted to be a serial killer back in like the early 90s and the 80s and this whole like Dahmer time period, just say that you had gay stuff going on and those cops would just fuck right off, dude. Those cops are they said they were going to shower after just like interacting with Jeffrey Dahmer. He's like, oh, I got to get back to the station to shower now. The homophobia in the police force was crazy, and it saved Dahmer from being caught so early on, according to the show, at least.
Yeah,
he dragged somebody back to his apartment to drug them, and I guess he left the house for some stupid reason.
They don't explain why he left the house.
He said he went to go get beer, which is, he seemed to be an alcoholic too. So
Yeah, I mean that also
the
lines
guy
up.
the guy managed to escape, but he was so drugged that he made it outside. Some neighbors found him. He like stumbled onto like the stoop of the building. The cops showed up, and they were questioning this guy. Dahmer walks in, and he's just like, "What the fuck? Nah, this is my boyfriend. We're just doing sex stuff, you know. We're gonna get in there." No, he gets really drunk. He's just really drunk right now, and the cops just sort of was like, "Oh, I can't be around all this gay shit, dude. I'm gonna just do your gay shit away from me. Go
Yep.
into that room," and he let the guy go back in, and presumably Dahmer's gonna kill this guy now. I don't know if they show that, to be honest. But
Yeah, that cop just retired. That cop that like handed, and this was a 14-year-old kid too. This was like, a fucking like a teenager that was living on the streets. That cop that handed that kid back to him just retired from the force. He had a long, successful career in the police force, apparently.
Yeah, and I don't know if I don't know if that was a recreation or if that was the real phone call. But they play a phone call after those cops let the guy go. The neighbor called the cops back, and she's on the phone with them, kind of pleading them to say, like, go back to the house, check that out. This guy's a fucking weirdo. We don't know what he's up to. This seemed weird. This kid is underage. But he's drinking, and the cops are just like, nah, we handled it. It's under control. Like, we just need you to like drop this shit. And it's like
That's
there's
crazy.
a level of incompetence there that the cops are somewhat complicit in what happened because they didn't do their due diligence or whatever. Which maybe isn't fair because you can't do your due diligence on everything, right? Like you can't take every fucking bomb threat the same, and because then you wouldn't be able to do anything. But
I mean, that is true. But maybe when there's a half-naked kid bleeding on a stoop, maybe you should at least get his ID. Maybe you should do something
for sure.
besides just handing him back.
Facts. Like, and then it's a grown ass man with a underage kid. Like, the fuck? That's not red flags to you guys either. Like,
bro, they were gay. They were trying to get the fuck out of there. They're like, we don't know what these gay people do.
The flimsiest like reasons for everything though from Dahmer though. He's like, oh yeah, I really like cooking pork chops, and I had just got a bunch of pork chops, and then my fridge broke, so now I got this bad meat smell in my apartment.
and it works. Like, people just buy it. Like,
The next door neighbor, to her credit, didn't buy any of it. That lady knew something was going on.
She was playing with fire, bro.
She could have been next on that list.
She kept going into that hallway, talking with him. Like, yeah,
But-
they show the scene where he gets arrested. She's yelling at the cops too. Like, I told y'all motherfuckers, like, I called y'all a dozen times. Yeah, he never take this shit seriously. So it's like she must have been working her ass off to get this dude investigated, and the cops just didn't take it seriously. And the part of what he lived in, I guess, like a black neighborhood, and the cops called it like a crackhead neighborhood or something like that.
Yeah, they called it like Cracktown or some shit like that.
Right. So I wonder if there's a degree of them not taking it seriously because of where it was. Like they're in this ghetto ass place. Like, we're not, we don't care that much about this area. We don't take their problems as seriously. They even told the white guy, they were like, "What the fuck are you doing here? Why are you living here?" Like,
I'm sure that was an aspect for sure. Did y'all ever watch any of those other shows? What was that other big one? Is that the other big one that was out?
I saw the first season
think
of
I've
that
seen
show. That's the one where he like falls in love with a chick and he wants to like kill her or something like that.
I think so. It's something weird like that.
Yeah, I don't really watch any of those.
And there's
serial killer
Dexter.
shows.
Everybody was in a Dexter.
Everybody watched Dexter.
Dexter it's still a popular show now, I think. Even though how old it's like or how long it's been out.
Well, it just came out with a new season, right?
Another season?
I'm
They
more
revived
interested in
Dexter
like
recently, right?
I think so. What were you saying, Doe?
I'm more interested in like the real ones, the ones like like the actual real murderers and killers. I think unfortunately, as interesting as a lot of these shows are and these interviews are, I think you get unfortunately like this bad effect where you're gonna get people that admire the person that they're trying to get you to You know what I mean? Like, that's done horrible things. I think you're just gonna get that effect where a lot of people are gonna be like, "Oh, this dude is awesome," and I think you're gonna get the, kind of like a worship. It's weird. I think these stories need to be told though, like to show how horrible these people are, and I think there's nothing wrong with telling a story and like showing people to be careful how these shits went down back in the day. But I just think, unfortunately, you're going to get a subset of people in any of those situations that are like, I like this guy. Like, I like how he works. You know what I mean?
Yeah, plenty of serial killers admire other serial killers.
Yeah.
So,
And I mean, like you mentioned, there's those weird women that like get really. There's weird people in general that get really obsessed with serial killers. They send them letters in prison. Fucking the what were their names? The Menendez brothers or something like that. You remember those guys? They got married in prison to these women that were like writing them fan letters and like corresponding with them in prison.
Really?
yeah, that's fucking strange.
Charles Manson got married in prison.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, people fantasize about that shit. I don't know if it's like a lust for like the thrill or the rush, I guess, of like, oh, he's a killer. Like,
Maybe it's a very extreme version of that. I can fix her.
oh, the fixers? Yeah,
That's fucking crazy.
yeah, you ain't fixing that shit. That boat has sailed.
Imagine being one of those people. You're watching like Jeffrey Dahmer get arrested on the news, and you're like, "Yeah, I can do this. I can turn this around."
There was the one guy's mugshot, right? And then all the girls were like, "Ooh,
Oh yeah, that the
Mugshot
pretty
guy?
convict or whatever.
yeah."
He got a model
tattoos on his
career out of
face
it.
and shit like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got a model career out of that shit. That was crazy.
So it must have been awkward for the first year and a half or so of that modeling contract. All he could do was just take pictures around the house with his ankle monitor hidden behind a prop or something.
I don't, but I thought once you serve your time, you don't have to be on no ankle monitor bullshit.
I think it depends, right? It probably depends. I don't know. I'm not super well versed in the criminal justice system.
That once you solve your time, that what?
Like once you serve your time, like if you go to jail for years or whatever, you come out and then you got to be on a house arrest with an ankle monitor. Like, how the fuck does that work? I just served mad years in prison. Why the fuck would I be stuck in ankle monitored?
I think they're waning you back into society, so you're out of prison, and now they're trying to keep they're giving you some freedom. You're out, but you still have some rules, and that's like what parole is, right? When you get out on parole, you got to get a job, you got to be home by a certain time. It's like, I'm not saying it's a good system because like there's a lot of negative aspects to it, but I could see what some of the intent, like a positive intent could be, is that you want to make sure these people get employed. You want to get them in their house, away from trouble, away from the things that cause them this problem. And you want them to do this long enough that it instills this habit into them that, if you only did this for 2 weeks, then they'll be like, oh, fuck it, I'll do this 2 weeks and I'll be back. I'll do whatever the fuck I was doing before. But if it's like 2 years of this shit, hopefully 2 years of doing this, maybe that next day you're not out there doing it again. This is just part of your life now. You know what I mean? But it don't work out like that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, what is that term? Recidivism? Is that right?
Yeah, the recidivism rates are very high in the United States. Basically, people who have been to prison go to prison again.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of that has to do with the shitty parole laws. A lot of that has to do with the fact that these people can't get jobs when they get out of prison, so they go back to doing crime. And there's convicts face a lot of ex-convicts face a lot of trouble getting back into society because of their status as
Unless they took really pretty mugshots.
Yeah,
I just looked this guy up. I had never even heard about this.
You don't remember that dude?
Nope.
It's huge.
yeah, I don't
It
know
wasn't
if
huge enough.
I'm like looking up some of the serial killers here, but yeah, I don't like. It's got to be like some type of like a brain or thinking process, something that just snaps in you, right? Like, you think people are just born serial killers and they're just like
I mean, there's a lot of early signs that they claim you look for, right? Like if you're if your kid's abusing animals or something, there might be something a little off with your kid.
Or
Nah, I don't-
gerbils.
Or gerbils.
Word.
I mean, it's a serial killer tendency is that they, yeah.
You'd be my
Just if
first
they're-
victim, though.
Just if your kid behaves different than other kids.
Like if
That's a
they want to
sign of
become
them.
like an assassin when they grow up or something.
Probably a sign.
Damn. Y'all boys are just painting pictures out here, I see. Golly, Picasso-ass niggas. Damn. That's a profession, by the way. Like, they ain't got nothing to be a serial killer. I mean, damn, could they be classified as a
I
serial
don't think
killer?
you
though?
could put that on your resume. I don't think it's a profession.
I mean, you can't put. Yeah, you can't speak about it though. You just
You get
moved.
out of the game and you're like applying for Walmart. It's like I spent 8 years as an assassin for the U.S. government. It taught me organizational skills.
The crazy thing is though about assassins is that once their career ends, the government tries to kill you. That's a real thing. People think I be joking. I wish.
Where's this information coming from?
I've met plenty of assassins in the 90s. Haven't you heard? Everybody was an
Everybody-
assassin.
Everybody in my elementary school was an assassin.
All
man.
the elementary kids.
Nah, man, bro, it's crazy because it's like there's a lot of shit that just goes on that whatever. Not even I know, you know what I mean? But I'm privy to some knowledge, I guess you could say.
Fuck are you on about?
He doesn't know, man. He said earlier he's just putting words together to see what
No,
happens.
bitch, that's different. This is not a Michael
Listen,
Scott
bro.
moment. This is not a Michael Scott moment. I'm just telling you.
Nary a piece of evidence was acquired.
I hate that word. Nary a piece. I hate that word. I don't know why. I don't like that word. I like the way it sounds.
Neri.
But nah, serial
I
killers.
don't know. There's some cool shit out there about serial killers. I don't know if you guys watch Zodiac. That movie was fire.
That was pretty good.
Zodiac is
Like
good.
I didn't watch that one,
Silence of the Lambs, fire.
They-
Those Hannibal movies like Red Dragon, Hannibal. There's another one I can't remember. There's that on Netflix they have this amazing TV show. Fuck you, Netflix, for canceling this amazing show.
Damn.
Mindhunters. Yeah, they canceled Mindhunters.
Mindhunters
That shit
was
is
fire.
I've heard good
This
things
shit
about
is
that one.
fire. It's basically it's following the FBI when they first start learning about.
serial killers.
There's just in their mind, there's just a bunch of random crimes that happen, and this group of people are psychologically trying to analyze the people that do these repeat crimes. That's what they call them, serial, like a serial TV show or serial show. It's like they repeat. They start analyzing these people and they come up with these profiles, and then they're able to like people do like these people kill like one person, and then they could already classify them as a serial killer, and they could figure like they like basically because of these people at the FBI, like serial killing is fairly comparatively non-existent to what it was in the past. Just because like the psychological profiles that they figure out on these people, they could figure out who did what in what place, where, why, all this shit, and they catch you like so fast. Like people don't even get to truly become a serial killer anymore like that. Like there was like the guy in New York who went on like a stabbing spree and things like that. And, yeah, they call these people serial killers, but that guy's
They're
probably just
so
a dick.
short lived. Yeah, they're so short lived too. They find them in a couple of days. There's no with the amount of cameras that they are in New York, there's no real way of getting away from a crime. If the police want to find you, they'll find you. And if they don't find you, they'll find around where you're at. Like, and then they'll just work on that area.
Imagine DC. They like what?
That was the homeless man. He was shooting the homeless people in DC, and then he came up to New York and started shooting homeless people. They caught him pretty quickly too. He only killed about 4 homeless people before they found him.
I'm saying
It's
like
a black dude.
like with the
Is that the one that had his
cameras.
son with him too?
No, that was the DC sniper.
Oh, that's the other one.
That was crazy.
Sniping niggas
So, like-
out the back of a trunk.
There's the Iceman Richard Kuklinski. That was someone that I did a lot of research on. He was a hitman for the mafia, but even before he was a hitman for the mafia, he was killing people for no reason. So that was one guy that I did research on, and I watched the interviews and stuff like that. It can be very interesting, but at the same time, it is more, in my opinion, a morbid curiosity. You're like,
For sure.
oh, it's like it comes from that deep place of like, what causes someone to kill someone? How do they feel about it? What is their feeling afterwards? Stuff like that, like stuff you can grasp.
Yeah.
That guy, Richard Kuklinski, had a family, kids, and he was just a hitman for the mafia. But there was times where he would just kill randomly.
That's insane.
Yeah, I remember when we were back in high school, you used to be somewhat obsessed with this guy.
Yes,
Who, you?
me.
Oh, you. Oh, I never knew that shit. I didn't know you was obsessed with no serial killer.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't obsessed, but
But I was
would
looking
watch-
into it.
He would, like, he'd have these hour-long interviews and things. He'd be like, yo, you seen this shit? This is great. You know, he's just finding videos on, like, you know,
The
I don't even know what the
Iceman.
fuck.
And
The
it started
Iceman, yeah.
because of the MMA. That guy, the Iceman. And I'm like, who's this Iceman?
The real Iceman.
Yeah.
My mother warned me about you way back in the day. Don't hang out with that kid. Eso está raro.
That kid that you went to special ed with, be careful. He's extra special.
Nigga's extra special. This nigga loves that. That's his one liner.
That's my one.
Is so
Because
fucking-
Just
I'm
shut
bringing
you
you down
down.
with me.
He's
I'm
trying to
bringing
shoot me
you
down.
with me.
That just shows you how fucking really. I mean, even say
There's
that word.
nary a better response to you, Tony.
Yes.
Neary, yeah, Neary.
Nary is a response better than that one.
That's a dumbass. Anyways,
Let's join houses, Tony.
or the no.
Let's marry our children together.
What the fuck is wrong with this guy?
No, Nary
This
would
man
army.
loves. This man loves bringing my kid into situations. I don't know what's up with this
It's
guy.
interesting. You didn't watch Game of Thrones or the House of the Dragon episode, do
It's
Hmm.
It's
it?
interesting.
It's a plot point that gets brought up.
Awesome.
Marrying houses.
I thought he was referencing that on purpose.
No, he
No,
didn't
no.
watch
Nah,
it.
he didn't- he
get
didn't-
Not the
there.
most recent one, but yeah, I've seen the other ones.
He doesn't watch shows.
Tony
Battlefield
is
5 is the best Battlefield.
Tony is an Allison
Another
Hightower
one.
kind of dude, though, huh? You see that his response was the same as her response. He said, "Nah."
But no, yeah, fuck. I don't know. Yeah, it seems like you guys are into serial killers. Like you guys are fanboys for sure. So
I certainly wouldn't call myself a fanboy of serial killers, but I find I'm into crime shows, so I'm more interested in the what the fuck are they doing, why are they doing this, and how are these people gonna catch this guy? So yeah, I'm like less interested in like a shit that's already. I don't know. I'm just interested to know how everything played out. Like all the things that led up to this person's arrest, I find interesting. Which is why I like shows like The Wire, which is like a big police investigation show. Mindhunters is similar. I don't know. I like crime shows. So.
no, get it. My bad. I'll retract my statement. on
Even
you.
like, wasn't the Road to Perdition like a chase? They were chasing him for a while.
I don't
The-
think I ever
that
saw Road to
movie?
Perdition.
Yeah, he was on the run, right?
Nah, I'm pretty sure the Tom Hanks movie.
Yeah.
Nah, I think he's like a hitman for the mafia, and he
Okay.
tries to get out the game, and somebody goes to try to kill him, and then he
Okay.
goes John Wick. It's the John Wick of like that era. It's an
So
older movie.
even that's why that movie grabbed me, because it's like, for me, it was like, how did people commit crimes back in the day? Was it easier to get away? How did people get after? How would people know if there was no cameras? Shit like that. So
it was much easier to get away. I mean, motherfuckers were breaking out of jail and they were just gone. Like they weren't going. Like they would go to, they'll skip town. They'll live their lives the rest of their life after
Imagine it. You move 2 towns over, and no one knows your name. There's no social media. You just go by a new name and done.
No social
that's crazy.
security. No, there's nothing to identify you by.
I'm sure.
You know what
I don't know when social security numbers started. That's actually, I don't
Imagine.
know. But
Number
imagine how
one.
But imagine how easy it would have been to forge a social security card back then. What are they going to do? They're gonna go put it into the database. Shit doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's actually
I
yeah.
thought it was like a post. Was this like a World War II thing?
I have no idea. I've
What?
never looked it up.
Social Securities.
I'm not too sure, but I know that IBM helped create the database for Hitler for the Holocaust, which is fucked up and
Holy
crazy.
shit, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, what?
Nah, this
IBM. So go ahead. Well, holy shit, what?
son just smacked the fuck out of my window right now. Thought someone was trying to come in and I just heard a bow, and then I took my headphones on. It's the fucking wind and rain smacking against my goddamn window.
Don't look
Yeah.
out that window, Tony. You'll create a time paradox. It's you out there. It's a younger you out there with a log trying to
Yeah.
throw it through those shutters.
Thank God you,
me?
yeah. Thank God you don't have any shutters. Those things don't work at all.
These frivolous attacks from your fucking weak ass standpoint is weak.
Okay, Mr. Log.
I hit you with a log. That shit might fix you.